Yeah. Hi, everyone. So we already discussed models and controllers in the past session. So you might have understood models are actually used to interact with a database, and it does kind of provide us a ORM to connect and to perform queries and all sort of things. Whereas controller is kind of a bridge between means it's kind of a logical bridge between views and models. So the views are like the part which actually interacts with the user. So you need to understand like how user thinks, how user want to perform anything and sort of things when you are designing a views. So let's start with the views. So let's just understand like what sort of points we are going to cover in this session. The first point is the major point is layouts and rendering. So there are layouts and renderings are kind of different aspects of how you present your things. So layouts are like the design structure that you actually make for a renderer to render it for the user. So there are few points, sub points as well. So there are two major methods, or I would say the helpers are there. One is a render, and second one is a redirect to. And there are two ways one can design views in Rails. That is, one is the ERB, that is a embedded Ruby, and whereas second one is the HAML. It is kind of an abstraction of HTML only. Yeah. So then there are action view helpers, which will help you out to designing complex stuffs easily. Then there are form helpers as well. You might have already know like most of the majority part of a designing involves some sort of form. So that's why they have given a different form helpers as well. And the last one is the dealing with the model objects, because as you already know that model objects are the ones which has the data that we want to show to perform anything and sort of stuff. So let's dive into this session. So first one is layouts and rendering. So this is just an sample code that where you can see like the usage of a render and redirect to. I have used both the things in the same code. You can see in this particular update method, we are first fetching the data, which is like a normal model methods and sort of using find using params ID. Then we are performing an update operation over it using book params. You already know like what sort of these things are since you already done these things in controllers and models. Then if it is a success, then what we are saying redirect to at the rate book. That means we have used this redirect to redirect to a certain UI views operation so that it will goes to a show API of that particular book controller to show the details of books as a on a view on views. Second one is if you know right if due to any reasons of any sort of validations and any sort of if it fails to update the things, then we should re-render the edit with the basic value. That's why we are using render method and the edit template that we are providing. Yeah. So do use this sort of methods to actually interact with the users and to understand like how the data flows between these YumVC. The second one is the ERB. I already told you like this is a kind of it is translated as embedded Ruby because it looks like a mixture of Ruby and HTML. You can see here we are having the basic tags like basic HTML like tbody, whereas it is kind of a this is a sample UI for book listing only. Then you can see we are using a Ruby code like dot each method to get a book and then to show as well. But whereas we are embedding this Ruby code within HTML tags. That's why we are saying it as an embedded Ruby. Okay. So do try this on, and you can. It will be easy for you like to understand like how you can embed the code within the normal HTML code. You can see here like this angular basis with percentage equal to. This is kind of a way we can embed a Ruby code, and also our interpreter understands that this code needs to be understand as per Ruby syntaxes, whereas other things are needs to be abstracted as a HTML syntax. Now you might as with the agenda we said like there are two ways to do things. So why do we need another other way when we have these things with HTML basic syntax, which is quite a similar one, and we are having the Ruby as well. So what happens like you can see like we are writing redundant code quite often in here, and this is a kind of a complex thing like you need to have a start tag and you need to have the end tag as well, which is kind of a irritating one. So that's why the HAML is introduced. It is kind of an abstraction of HTML only, but with some advantages over it, like the end tags and sort of. Let's just see like how this code will be seen in HAML. The same code. Yeah, you can see here like we're writing the same code that the book listing one using HAML that we have done in ERB. So you can easily identify, like it's more readable to the user, for a developer as well, to understand like what actually happening in this particular UI as well. So that's the major advantage HAML has over ERB. But I do request all of you to try a similar code structure, similar UI first in ERB, and then try to convert it into HAML as well. Because in future so in this way you will understand both the ways to do things, because we don't know when you are joining a project which standard they are following. Like they can certain times follow ERB, at certain times they can follow HAML as well. So do explore these two thoroughly. Now, as we earlier mentioned, that there are few action view helpers which helps us in designing the complex things easily. So these are the few ones which I already listed here, and there are certain outputs around it as well. The first one is the asset host. So we need to understand like there can be some relative assets as well. Sometimes assets are like it can be SCSS, images, documents, any sort of things that you want to use in your UI rendering and all. So you can see here, like when I have set this config.assetHosts to asset.example.com, when we are using the image tag helper, it actually generates this sort of HTML code after rendering. So that is it appends that asset host and then the relative part over it, that slash images and slash, since we are using image tag, that's why it appends with slash images and then the name. Yeah, just a minute. Then similarly, image path. So image paths are like, you can see here the major difference between image path and image tag is that we are directly accessing these thing inside the assets, not using these images or sort of tags. That will be generalized for all the options that we are giving. Then comes image URL. So image URLs are like as we earlier stated, like we need to have that URL with assets tagged in it. So understand these schematics, like how we are doing ahead of this. Now JavaScript include tag. So we all know that we can't just design a views without CSS or a JavaScript embedded within HTML. So how do achieve that? So we can see here, like we can use this JavaScript include tag. We have mentioned it as a common. Yes, just a minute, common. So it will generate a script tag. As you already studied, if you already studied the basic JavaScript, then you know that this is a JS include tag with the relative URL to it. Similarly, you can just provide a JavaScript path as well to certain file like common.js or something. Okay, yeah, JavaScript URL. You can also embedded a URL as well. So URL will use this asset host to embed a particular JS. Similarly, for inclusion of style sheets as well, we can have this style sheet tag as well, style sheet link tag, as well as style sheet path. So you can see here, like the what is generated out of it. So I have added those things, like what is generated out of this Ruby, this standard syntaxes or helpers. This link tag will generate a link reference to that particular application.css or any sort of CSS, CSS. Similarly, path will have just a relative path to that file. Now action view form helpers. So majority of what happens, like we need to deal with majority of forms while designing and sort of stuff. Here you can see, like we are having a Ruby sort of syntaxes to design a actual HTML code out of it. So you can see, like we are having form with URL slash search with method get. So what it does actually, you are getting a certain data from search, which you can pre-fill in this particular fields, and on submit you can call a particular I would say like submit function, or submit function you can submit on a post request. This is a get request, so it will just there to be to fetch the data. Okay. Sorry, my bad. So we are using this get method to fetch the data only using this query. So this is a search form. There are other form helpers as well, like the text area. If you want to just have a text area field, you can use this text area. If you want to have a hidden field, you can use this one. You can have, if you are for password field, which should be with asterisk and sort of the hidden one. Then that we can use that a number field. You can see here, like we can provide a range as well, so that to have a validations over it. This kind of things are called the form validations at dry validations in a way. Then there is a range field as well, date field, time field, and there are other fields as well. So understand this, that these are there to help you out. It doesn't mean that you should follow these only. There you can follow the basic constructs as well, but
if you use this one, this improves the readability of the code. Now, the last point that we need to discuss in today's session is that the dealing with the model objects. So at the end, it's all about like how we interact model views and controller one another. So you can see here like we are taking it in an instance variable. Have this in mind that use instance variable whenever you are interacting a model object with what I was saying, the views. Because otherwise, if you are using a normal variable, the scope of that normal variable is not that enough to access it from the views file. Okay. So then the second thing is that you can see here like we are using form with model with @article, which is a text field and text area initial ones. And on submit, we can get this thing in this particular object only to perform any sort of updation and so on. Okay. So do explore these things and do design like the as far as the assignments are concerned, I have already mentioned it in that you need to design all the views for all the controllers that you have already designed in the past assignment. So in this way, you will learn like how the data flows between all those things. So thank you. Have a great day.